all the news about the protests in Iran has kind of been relegated to, at best, the back pages of the newspaper. I'm done.
Point number one, and you hit it right on the nail, if you will. We are Iranians worldwide, our diaspora, are extremely frustrated by the lack of attention, the reluctance, frankly, the laziness of the media, if I may, specifically the liberal media, to completely disregard what is, for all intents and purposes, a revolution that checkmarks every single one of liberal values.
Right.
In Iran today, in an Islamic republic, every single one of those liberal values are checked off, yet we have, I hate to throw names there, but then we have the New York Times, we have the Washington Post, we have Los Angeles Times, and you name it. Not only back pages, but when they do give headlines, frequently, I hate to put it in these terms, we sometimes wonder if these are maliciously erroneous headlines given out.
Like what?
Prime example, New York Times. There was at a particular moment in time, a few weeks ago, where there was talk of some person in the judiciary talking about the hijab not being mandatory or whatnot. There was some confusion of that. Well, within a few hours, that confusion was clarified.
Right.
The regime said, no such thing. That was tied exactly with President Raisi of the Islamic Republic's visit to the United Nations, trying to choreograph yet again another hallway handshake possibly. But the New York Times ran with it for several days, creating this illusion that, yes, the Islamic Republic is on the verge of dramatic reform. And we just frankly do not understand.
No, I saw that too. I was on Israel Channel 14 and talking about the Islamic Revolution, and the anchorwoman said to me, "Oh, so it's all over now, right? They won." And I said, no. What are you?
It took them 2 or 3 days, and then it was, okay, whoops, okay, to the next subject. The point is what you mentioned. Why is it in the back pages, and when it's not, why is it completely factually misplaced? Some of these attentions that we get. The other part of your question was.
No, but is it going on now?
Yeah, the other part of your question was, in fact, it's how is it the ebbs and flow? It's important. Again, as Iranians, we also get anxious. What's happening? Is it being sustained? Is it being crushed? Is the iron fist working? Fact of the matter is, when we look at history and history of revolutions, all revolutions have ebbs and flows. All revolutions have ebbs and flows. And we have seen that just at the moment of time when least expectation, when one thinks that perhaps the regime in this case has the upper hand, that's when things unravel. You asked that earlier on there were signs of defections by the regime. Absolutely the case. We still see signs of it. We've seen members of the Revolutionary Guard. We have seen members of the regular police. We've seen members of the Basij. We have seen clerical leaders who are coming out. We have that Sunni leader who every Friday through his sermons is taking on the regime, siding with the people.
We have in the seminary in Qom, right? There were students who were opposing the
Absolutely. Not too long ago, a few weeks ago, we had several of these teachers as well as students signing petitions, basically declaring their dissatisfaction with the way this regime has sort of hijacked the traditional Shiite infrastructure. Because let's not forget, what Khomeini did was he not only brought revolution to Iran, he also turned the infrastructure of Shiism upside down. That's a long story to get into, maybe for another time. But even back then, the traditional Shia clerics never wanted what we see today, the integration of
It's like the Grand Ayatollah in Najaf in Iraq.
Sistani,
Sistani,
Ayatollah
right? So
Sistani,
the
correct.
Ayatollah Sistani was actually, he's more of a traditional Shia leader, right? And he opposed the theocratic 12er sect of the Khomeinis
Right.
who were millenarian.
Ayatollah Sistani is what is referred to as Ayatollah Uzma. Uzma comes from Azim, big, great, grand. He
It's
is
like in Hebrew, Otzma is
Osma.
powerful.
Exactly, similar, same roots. So he is an Ayatollah Uzma. He's a grand Ayatollah. You have a few handful of grand Ayatollahs. Then you have other not as prestigious or senior Ayatollahs. But basically, what has happened is that before, under Shia Islam, if there was some form of a democratic process whereby people would choose their own sources of emulation, and that is what Ayatollahs are meant to be, sources of emulation. If that was the traditional Shia Islam, Khomeini came in and said, you know what? All of you grand Ayatollahs, all of you junior Ayatollahs, everyone aside, I am the solo man, and all those funds, all that emulation, all that political power no longer is equally distributed amongst the others. It is all in my hand. So, and the vast majority of traditional Iran Shia leaders to this day are in disagreement with that, completely rejected.
Yes, but he won. Right.
Well, yes, but he won. He changed the face of Shiism. And I think history has not stopped speaking about that yet.
It hasn't given its final
Judgment.
All right. Well, good. Hopefully it won't. Hopefully we'll see a new judgment coming up soon, because I mean we see in Hezbollah in Syria. In Lebanon, we see now with the rise of Hezbollah-like Shiism in Syria, and even in the indoctrination that we see of Shia minorities in Germany, in Morocco, in other places, by Iranian clerics who they export there. It isn't the traditional Shiism; it's the sect of Khomeinism that they're exporting.
That's right. In fact, we declare it outright: Khomeinism. Mm-hmm. It is a system of political system of governance. Khomeinism, like communism and socialism. Incidentally, all of them having failed. So, yes,